Crilley Show, we'll talk to a licensed professional counselor who turned her own pain into purpose. That's next.
Many are predicting that the worst is yet to come, which is unfortunate, said one person here. Until now, they've enjoyed the reputation of being the nation's icebox.
Watched a burglar in his home this morning by webcam.
As a journalist of over 25 years, stories are what make my world turn.
Reporting live from the Dallas newsroom tonight, Jeff Crilley, Fox 4 News.
But in 2008, I took the jump from my familiar life and started a PR firm from my home.
We're talking about anyone with a camcorder like the one I'm using becomes a television network.
We started slowly growing the company, and we now have over 100 clients, and we've branched into the world of live digital broadcasting. I now own 8 different TV studios and have a huge team, and the stories that I now get to share are sometimes the most important of my life. Life has a funny way of coming around full circle. This is the Jeff Crilley Show. So as we're doing this broadcast, we've had yet another workplace shooting, a massacre, and this time in Indianapolis. And it's just adding more anxiety to an already anxious workforce. To talk about that today, Nikki Sheppard, she's a licensed professional counselor. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, I should brag about you because you are going to be on CBS 11 tonight on this very same issue, workplace violence and how people deal with it. So let's talk a little bit about that. If people are already anxious about getting the virus, and now they have to worry about a possibility of people just going nuts at work. I mean, It's adding to a heightened sense of anxiety.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's disheartening, Jeff, just to even hear that this is something that is not only a global pandemic for what we're dealing with the virus, but then also now the workplace shootings as well. And so just as a therapist, I just want to offer support to any and everyone that's in need right now, which I feel is definitely a lot of people. And
fear can be very paralyzing. Many people are living in fear, 100% of the day. And you and I were talking in the hallway. If we truly lived our lives in fear, we'd never get in the car because there could be an accident, right?
Absolutely.
So when you're working with your clients, what kind of advice are you giving them when they're paralyzed?
When they're paralyzed, I'm asking them just to think and focus on what they can control, which is, even if it's something small, I can control my thoughts, I can control my day, I can control my schedule, and just kind of scaling back. I think when we think in the future, the possibility of the future, negative or positive, we can become overwhelmed, so maybe scaling back and focusing on the present moment, taking time to listen to their body, and ask themselves, what is it that I need today? Sometimes that may be taking a day off. Sometimes that may be unplugging and just resting the mind, resting the body.
You said something on CBS 11 that really surprised me. We have 6,000 thoughts every day.
Yes.
And most of them are negative.
According to science, I did a lot of research as I was, helping out during the pandemic out of the country, counseling. And I just found that so many people all over the world were suffering, and I wanted to find out, more about the brain. How can I help them? And so during my research, I found that we have over 6,200 thoughts a day, and most of them are negative and repetitive. 85 to 95% are, no matter who you are, where you are in the world. And so with that being said, there's so many of us that battle with that. So what can we do? We have to take control of our thoughts as much as we can. So, when those thoughts come that are negative, that are anxious, we have to just basically rethink those thoughts and try to reframe them and think of them in a different way, and just focus on the present moment and what we can control.
Nikki is also an author. We're going to put your book on the screen so people can look at it. Mm-hmm. Finding Your Voice Amid Trauma and Drama of Everyday Life. Yes. And this was born from your own journey. Tell us a little bit more about where you've been.
Well, I actually, was married for a very long time, and we went through a divorce, and, saw so many different losses in my life that it caused me to just lose wind. Even as a therapist, I found myself not even being able to utilize the tools that I had learned in school and training, and it just wasn't helping as much as I needed. And so on my search, I ended up finding a mental health gym, the first of its kind, based out of Detroit, Michigan. Flew there on a whim, just in need on search of my own healing on my journey, and fell in love with the whole business and the brand, so much so that I became the first franchise owner. And I moved to LA and started the business. I started doing something called neurofeedback, which is based out of Canada. I've been around for 20 years. I'd never heard of it. But it is a 33-minute session that you get that helps literally retrain your mind and your brain to function better at optimal levels. And it was the one thing that really caused me to be able to get back on track and help me on my journey. So it was awesome. And then I wrote the book too.
Well, I think it's refreshing, Nikki, that you've walked the same walk as many of your patients and clients that you're helping, because
Yes.
I think nobody wants to talk to a marriage counselor who's never been married.
Right.
So we're going to put up an article on the screen. You were featured in Voyage Dallas. It was a beautiful article.
Thank you.
And I love the name Nikki Speaks. Where did that come from?
Throughout my life, I kind of had issues with actually speaking, and being confident in what it is that I had to say. And so it was my own way to encourage myself to speak, and then also to help other people speak through the work that I do. So I do lots of speaking engagements where I really coach my clients and patients to be able to find their voice, hone their voice, and be empowered with who they are and how they show up in the world. Not focusing on their past issues, mistakes, trials, and tribulations, but being more focused on what's to come. How can they change? How have they grown and matured and healed from those areas? And what are the takeaways? So often we miss focusing on the takeaways. We focus on all the problems that came along with it, but there's always something to be learned in tough situations, and there's always something to be grateful for, no matter what.
How does somebody know when they need professional help? I mean, obviously you could go out and buy self-help books and
Absolutely.
read about it. How do you know when you need a therapist?
I really think when the thoughts are intrusive, and so much so that you're constantly thinking negatively and anxious thoughts, and really focused on the past more than the present and the future. I often ask my clients to just journal it, take the time to write down where your thoughts appearing. Are you thinking a lot about the past? Are you thinking a lot about the present or the future? And you want to draw yourself back to the present moment as much as you can. So if you're having many thoughts that are just causing you not to be able to function like you usually do, and you just feel, we always know when something's off and something's different, within us. And so really listening to what it is that you need and being courageous. And I feel that my patients, my clients are my heroes. I believe so much in what they're doing but because they've taken that step to start their journey. And so they help me stay in the business, and they help me just continue on my journey as well.
Well, speaking of heroes, you mentioned to me before we went on that you're now working with first responders.
Yes.
And they are heroes, but they don't wear a cape every day, and they get weary too, don't they?
Absolutely, yeah. And it's been so refreshing to work with first responders, just to see life for them in a different lens, and to be able to give back in some way. It really helped me see that, again, no matter who we are, we all have things that we have to navigate in life, tough situations, and it's beyond the race, it's beyond our careers, it's beyond our genders, economic status, none of that has to do with anything, and so many people are hurting right now. So I think it's just a pivotal time for stigmas for mental health to go away, and for us to be able to embrace what we need right now.
Nikki, we only have about a minute left. That's your camera right there. Why don't you look into the camera and talk to the person who is hurting right now and is wondering whether or not they need help.
Okay. I just want to say, I thank you for even showing up. Each day I tell my clients is a gift. And with all that we're facing in the world, I would love for you to be courageous and for you to reach out to anyone that is a safe space for you. If you don't have that, then therapy is the number one option as far as I'm concerned. So I want to encourage you to get the help that you need, to be brave, and to know that there's no stigmas involved. It's not a negative experience. It's an opportunity for you to continue to work on you, to become better, to become stronger, and to have a healthier, and happier life.
Wow. Well, this is a beautiful way to end this segment. We're going to put up a form of communication for you, your Linktree account. It's / Nikki.Speaks.
Yes.
Nikki Sheppard, thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You bet. And that's it for now. We'll see you next time.